Have you ever noticed that some days don't feel that heavy, and yet you still end them exhausted? Nothing overwhelming happened. You did what you had to do, and still, something in you feels used, not all at once, not intensely, just enough to make the tiredness stay. And after a while, that becomes difficult to explain, because the exhaustion is real, but the reason for it never seems clear. It doesn't point to anything obvious. There's no moment you can isolate, just a quiet sense that your energy is being drained somewhere you can't quite see. What if your energy is not only spent on what you do, but on what your system keeps holding throughout the day? Because some forms of tiredness don't come from visible effort. They come from small internal contractions that happen so often, they begin to feel normal. A slight tightening in certain conversations, a subtle shift in how you hold yourself when something feels uncertain, the way you stay composed, measured, attentive, even in situations that don't seem to require that much from you. Individually, these moments seem insignificant, easy to ignore, easy to justify. But the body does not measure intensity the way the mind does. It responds to repetition, to what happens again and again and again without release. A reaction you hold back, a feeling you contain just enough to stay in control, a moment where you adjust yourself instead of fully relaxing into it, a pause where something could soften but doesn't. None of this looks like effort from the outside, but internally it creates friction, a quiet, continuous cost that accumulates without asking for attention. And by the end of the day, you may not be tired because life asked too much of you. You may be tired because your system kept making small corrections the entire time. That is what makes this kind of exhaustion so hard to recognize. There is no single moment to point to, no clear explanation, just the gradual weight of too many subtle responses that never fully completed, that stayed open long after the moment had passed. And over time, that unfinished tension begins to accumulate, not loudly, quietly, as alertness, as tightness, as a body that no longer returns to neutral with ease. And if this goes on long enough, you stop seeing it as something you carry. You start seeing it as who you are, your way of being, your normal, the way you exist in the world. But your system was not built to stay slightly contracted all the time. It was built for rhythm, engagement, and release, activation, and settling. Moments that close before new ones begin. And when that rhythm breaks, fatigue begins to gather. Often, this pattern begins quietly, in the way you learn to move through the world, paying attention, adjusting early, sensing what might create tension before it fully appears, trying to stay ahead of what could become uncomfortable. You became precise. And over time, that precision stopped being a choice and became a constant. Something you carry in your tone, in your posture, in your responses, even when there is nothing to respond to. And that is where the deeper fatigue lives. not in one heavy burden, but in the endless cost of subtle self-regulation. So the real question may not be, why am I so tired? It may be, what am I still holding that never got released? Because the shift doesn't begin when you do less. It begins when you start noticing where your system is still bracing without needing to, where you remain engaged after the moment has already passed, where something stays active even when everything is already over, where tension lingers without a reason to keep existing. That awareness changes something, because once you see it, the tiredness stops feeling random, and little by little, something starts to loosen. Less unnecessary holding, less constant adjustment, less internal effort in moments that no longer require it, not by forcing yourself to relax, but by no longer carrying what does not need to be carried, by allowing certain moments to fully end inside you. And when that begins to happen, the tiredness changes. It doesn't disappear all at once, but it stops building in the same invisible way. Your body softens more easily. Your energy returns more honestly. And for the first time in a while, rest begins to feel like rest. So if you feel tired all the time, look beyond what you are doing and gently ask, what has my system been holding all day long? Because sometimes exhaustion is not the result of one overwhelming thing. It is the residue of many small things that were never released. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing, because sometimes seeing the pattern clearly is what finally allows it to let go.